Welcome once again here on the Regional Radio Sports Network. I'm Paul County. Thanks for joining us here for the Tony Natali Show, the season finale here from inside Championship Plaza. I'm Paul County along with Coach Tony Natali on the far end over there. The Crossroads League Men's Basketball Coach of the Year, Steve Drabyn, will be joining us here shortly. But, boy, have you been able to keep your wits about yourself with all the stuff you got going on? You got the swimming championships. You guys just wrapped that up. And, of course, you hosted a regional men's basketball championship by the NAI. Let's start with swimming as we put a nice bow on that. Was that a pretty good, fun time for y'all?
It really was. I think it was a great opportunity to showcase one of the premier facilities in the country when it came to swim and dive. And I felt like the cooperation we had from the Elkhart Community Foundation, the Visitor Bureau, just was top notch, and we were able to put on a really good event. The coaches were happy with it. We had a lot of people that really contributed. So I thought it went really, really well. It was a good learning experience moving into next year as well. So excited to do it again then.
Walk me through some of the things that you were the most excited about with the team being involved in it as well. That had to be neat for Deb Thompson's swim club.
For sure. It was great seeing the Bethel swimmers out there doing what they did, and our women finished fifth in the country, which was phenomenal. Just a great opportunity for them. From my perspective, I didn't get a chance to really see that very much because I was usually running around doing something else. But it was great just to have the representation from Bethel. It was really cool. Probably one of the highlights in my mind was just seeing all the volunteers that were there, Bethel students, staff, people that knew us that were doing timing and all those kinds of things. It was really cool to see that.
And then, of course, you had a chance for the first time in Bethel University history to host an NAIA men's basketball event for all intents and purposes. And that was a big time and a wonderful time had by Luke Schrock and his team. They did a great job with sports information, kind of navigate. Chris Hess, of course, had the gym looking as pristine as possible. So walk me through some of the things you guys learned about being a host.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I just took a lot of the things, honestly, that we had all those years in Branson, and tried to incorporate as much as I could here with the four teams that we had. And Theo Williams, Mark Paulsgrove did a great job of helping run that event. And it was just great to greet the teams, the coaches' meetings, just having opportunities to interact with those other teams, the coaches and the players themselves, and showing them Bethel hospitality. We wanted to put on just a great program for them. So we were excited with the hospitality room, just everything that we did with that. I think it looked great. Like you said, Chris Hess did a good job of making that look good. And I think from the comments I had from the other coaches, they really enjoyed being here.
All right, midway point for softball, baseball. We're hitting the back stretch for men's volleyball, lacrosse, men's golf, women's tennis teams going to the NEI National Tournament. What a job by Jamal and his gals. Men's tennis team wrapping it up. So let's kind of walk us through these final moments of the calendar school year.
Yeah, it's hard to believe we're getting down there already. It's been a fast semester for sure. But baseball and softball, like you said, they're getting to the halfway point, and they continue to work on their conference schedules. We have men's volleyball, which has really improved this year, and even the matches that they haven't won, they've taken nationally ranked teams to 4 or 5 sets, and the sets have been close. So they've done a really good job of continuing to elevate the program. Jose's done a great job of that. Men's and women's golf is always very competitive. Coach Hess's women's golf team right now is ranked in the top 25 in the NAI, so they have an opportunity to possibly go to NAI's nationals. We'll see how that goes coming up. And then, of course, with Jamal Henry's tennis program, the women's team already qualified for NAI nationals in Mobile, Alabama, and Luke Schrock will be a part of that as well. So that'll be a great opportunity for them. Lacrosse, very much improved as well, very young team. As a matter of fact, they have a great schedule coming up with some big matches, but they've won some big matches as well. They defeated Trine University for the first time ever in the history of the program. So they've gotten better, continually look to improve, and it's been good for the spring.
I know coming up on the 23rd of April, you're going to have the Helm Awards. It's the school-wide celebration of skills and talent and just teamwork. And I know that Luke Schrock and Alexa, they were just done a wonderful job of just kind of navigating through some of the things that's going on here on campus. For the people who have never been to the Helm Awards, I know this was your vision. Tell me about where this came from.
Well, it's just something we started, a few years ago, and it's just a great opportunity, in my opinion, to get all our athletes together and just recognize some of the accomplishments that we've had. We don't have a lot of rules or regulations that night. The one thing I do ask Luke and his staff to do is to make sure sure every sport is included with the nominations because we try to be inclusive that way. But it's just, again, it's a good cross-support type thing that we try to do with a lot of areas in our department. It's been a good opportunity. It's something that we can continue to make better. I feel like, we continually make changes. This year, one of the changes we're making is we're having a speaker that's graduated, Andrew Miranda, actually for baseball.
Oh, great.
Is coming in to speak at the beginning of that night, just for a few minutes about his experience as a student athlete here at Bethel. So, again, just always looking for ways to get better.
One of the most unique things that people may or may not understand, prior to you becoming the athletic director, you're the head track coach, as well as the longtime assistant for the legendary Mike Lightfoot. So you know basketball as well as anybody knows it in the building, and I wouldn't even include that guy who's sitting to your left. He's known a lot of basketball. He's played a lot of basketball. He was a much better player than you were. We need to point that out right now.
That's not even
that's not even
stratosphere, right? No.
But that being said, can you take off the AD's hat for a minute and just talk about the improvement that Steve Drabyn's team made from the first time that you saw them during their preseason scrimmages in the first game to where they are and where they went to the round of 16?
Yeah, I tell you, it's been a great year, and Steve's done a phenomenal job, and I'm not just saying that because he's sitting here, he knows this, but we've talked about this a lot. But just to see the culture of that program, to see the locker room, we knew this was going to be a special year even back in August. The fact that he had his locker room, I think this is an opportunity for Coach Drabyn where he really had what he wanted to have. His vision was there and what he wanted to get out of the program. And there's so many things we could talk about with that. The success, of course, that we've had. He was picked not very high preseason, seventh,
yeah.
And had the opportunity to finish second, Coach of the Year, like you said. And the great thing about it, and Coach and I talked about this way back, but just the balance on this team. And you really couldn't look to stop one person because you had a whole bunch of people that were really effective. And it was good to see what they did in the non-conference part of their schedule, the conference season, and then, of course, going into nationals and seeing how they represented Bethel. But the best thing about Coach Drabyn and how the season went, and basically, his time that he's had here so far working with kids is the quality of the program and just every aspect, every facet. The spiritual development of these kids is just amazing. I mean, I just saw a video this morning of James Anderson.
Yes.
And, I mean, what a great video. That video, I'm trying to get the link for it because I want to send it out to, literally everybody that I know because that encompasses everything we try to do here at Bethel. I mean, the young man has been successful athletically, just came back from a national tournament. He's doing well academically, but he talks in that video so much about his spiritual development. He talks about Coach Drabyn being the most instrumental part of that, which is what we want. That's what we want from our coaches.
Steve, congratulations on a great year. I'm excited to see how this group, these 4 seniors, how they're going to parlay their success. We won't know how good our job was, if you will, until 10, 15 years down the road when we find out what kind of dads they're going to be, what kind of husbands, what kind of business owners, what kind of employees they're going to be, because that's really the true test of things. And, of course, I think as close as I was to you guys, it's been awesome to watch them grow. So tell us a little bit about the 4 guys you're going to have to replace.
It's interesting, when you go back and look on seasons, I've had conversations with coaches on the sidelines recruiting, through the years, and it's amazing how, hey, Coach, how was your season this year? Oh, not good. Why was it not good? Lack of player leadership. Coach, how was your season this year? Really good. Why was it really good, Coach? Because of player leadership, and that's why we had a good year in my mind. And take away wins and losses, but we had 4 senior or graduate transfer guys that led our team. And it's awesome. Coach of the Year, it's a cool honor. Definitely honored by it and appreciative, but it's the players that helped. It's a team award. And so, you got Trent Edwards, James Anderson, Aiku May, and Preston Phillips that they led our team. Player-led teams are always better than coach-led teams, and, we guided them. And for me, a lot of times it was just getting out of the way and not messing it up and letting those guys go and do their thing. And, Trent Edwards, who not the most vocal guy, but just he'll be vocal when he needs to be, and just that quiet leader that does what he's supposed to do when he's supposed to do it. James Anderson, as Tony mentioned with the video, just his growth as not only a player, not only a man, but a man of faith, was awesome. And he's an alpha influencer type guy. And, when James is at his best, our team is better. Preston Phillips is kind of the quiet, analytical, smart type guy that knows what needs to be done, knows how to do it, and does things the right way when he's in a good frame of mind, which our goal was to keep him there. He was pretty good. And then Ike Ume, just a professional. He's a man's man, just a guy that guys look up to. He spoke to our team last week in Kansas City. Did it for about 5-6 minutes, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my, he is going to be a leader someday of people. And just because of his professionalism, his class, he's a guy that could have played more minutes, probably deserved more minutes at times, and just handled it in just a first-class way. And those 4 guys, and the rest of our guys as leaders were why we had the type of year we did.
Tony, I know that you've been in this position before. You've done the post-game interview with me after a game or after a tournament. But the first thing that Steve did after the loss to LSU came over, and I just say what your thoughts on the game. And I wasn't going to talk X's and O's, but I hope everybody will go back and listen to the archive broadcast on Regional Radio Sports. Steve's comments in the heat of the moment after a difficult loss at the national tournament with an overtime loss after the team came roaring back after a deficit, but what he had to say and the emotions of the moment. It's a difficult situation to be able to look through the glass and see that the glass is really more than half full versus, listen, somebody just spilled my glass and emptied it all over the place. That's a hard thing for a coach to do, but Steve handled it very, very well. So kudos for you, Steve-O.
Appreciate that. Am I commenting or Tony?
No, I'm just saying. I just was so happy with the way you handled that because you bailed me out on that one because I was getting emotional with the whole thing.
It's tough, and obviously you've been in that situation before as a player and as a coach, and only one team wins the last game, and so had a good amount of experience with it. But it's just first thing you're hurt. You're hurting for your guys because of the effort and the commitment they put in for the year and for that game and the preparation and all that. However, it's it's bigger than just a game, and it's where your identity lies, and it's just gratitude for what just happened. And I think of the locker room this year and last year. We spent over an hour in the locker room just talking about the season, how much it mattered, caring for each other. Salvation was talked about, brotherhood, family, you're my brothers for life, all that stuff. Like that's a win. Like what defines success? That right there. When you have a locker room at the end of a year after a tough, hurtful loss, and you can talk about all the positives and the relationships and all those things, and that's success to me, and that's what we had this year with those guys.
Tony, I reflect back on a trip that you and I took with the men's team to Branson. I played probably one bad half of basketball the entire year, and playing in the national semifinals, lost the game. We just didn't play a very good first half, and our guys, I'll never forget going into the locker room and the devastation on the looks of the faces. I still never forget the, Will Walker coming up to me, just bawling his eyes out, and he was just soaking wet from playing his butt off, and he grabs me and holds on, and you just thinking, man, what could we have done more? But then you think about, and I'm going to move fast forward. I know I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. And now I look at Will Walker today, the impact that he's having as an assistant coach at Michigan City High School, and the impact that he's having on the kids that he's around. And I'm thinking to myself, that was the same guy that was absolutely broken at that point in time in his career. And of course, he had a real good pro career going playing overseas. And of course, but that's the long-term effect is those lessons that you learn at those point in times in life, and being a part of education-based athletics. They make boys into men. They really do.
Well, the investment that we all put into this makes it tough. and it's a good thing and also a challenging thing at the same time. If you didn't invest so much in everybody, it wouldn't be that difficult. But I think back to those times at Branson that I was watching the game last week, and when it got done, flood of memories came back in my mind because I remembered those locker rooms and how tough they were. But to hear Steve say the things that he said that were said in that locker room, that shows what the culture and the program is, because that's a tough time. And if you can handle it in a way and say the things that were said in that moment, it's definitely part of what's going on in that locker room through the course of the year. So it's such a big picture moment. It's way more than a win or a loss. It's a big picture moment because, like he said, Ike, as an example, he will be a great leader. And the things that Coach Drabyn and his staff been able to do with him the last couple of years are a huge reason why.
Tony, how did you and Mike, after the season, after the disappointment, what did your mind go into next? Okay, well, we got to get ready for next year, but I also have to go through a little bit of the grieving process because you have that.
Yeah.
So how did you guys handle that?
He usually yelled at me first, and then we went from there. But no, just kidding. But yeah, you do go through the grieving process. You have to take some time to reflect on the investment. It is a long season when you start way back in the summer at camp, getting ready for everything that's going to happen, and the fall, your conditioning, and then you get into everything else, and it's a long season. And then when it comes, the finality is like instant. And when it comes to that point, when it is instant, it takes some time to kind of get through that. I talked to Steve on the phone, and then, Steve mentioned I'm going to take Monday, stay home. I'm like, you need to stay home more than just Monday, because it takes some time to kind of reflect on what's happened. But then, after a day or two, you do kind of start thinking, okay, it's time to get ready for the next one. And, Steve's done a great job of recruiting with his staff, and they have some great young kids coming in that will complement everybody that he's got coming back. So it's time to start looking at the next one.
All right, Steve. So what's the next step for you?
Yes, we actually just had took a couple days off this week and gave the staff, like Tony said, it's a long season. It was 6 months and 1 week, and it's over half a year, and so need to get away a little bit. We'll take some afternoons, mornings here and there, but we met as a staff this morning just trying to make a plan going forward. Team meeting, individual meetings next week for current guys, that are coming back, and in hopes that they all come back. We have 10 guys that are able to come back, want them all back. And then, we want to try to meet with those 4 guys that are leaving. Just, hey, what's next? What's your plan? Kind of help them navigate that next step. And those steps are hard because, those guys, you think of those 4 guys, they have had structure ever since kindergarten,
Yep, absolutely.
School and sports and activities, and they've always had that structure. Now it's like they're stepping out on their own and, into manhood and what that looks like, and just want to help them navigate that as best they can. Those 4 will be fine. But, just making a plan and what's next, and it's recruiting. It's recruiting your current guys. It's getting organized with spring workouts. We've got 2 weeks where we can work out the guys and practice, and how do we want to navigate that. And we've got a banquet coming up to kind of celebrate the season, and just all those little things. I bet we had 50 things on our list today, and just trying to divide and conquer.
Steve, is it a lot more difficult as a head coach to be in this position compared to back when you were playing in high school and when you were playing at Belmont? Did you deal with the end of the season finality different than you do now?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I've ever gotten that. I think, as a competitor, equally as hard, probably. As a player, you obviously had control, because you're on the floor, you're performing. As a coach, you have control, but you're not out there doing it. And so, I don't know, maybe it lasted a little longer as a player. I don't know. I know regular season losses, it takes me about 24 hours. I got to watch the film. This one will probably take about a week, probably. All the ins and outs of the game and, tough breaks and things you could have done different and whatnot. But, I watched it Monday morning, and it just gives you closure. But you always go back to, hey, what we did was special, and the type of guys we did it with was special, and I'm grateful for the year we had.
Well, just kind of piggybacking on that, I was at the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame Awards dinner, and you were inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. So congratulations. I know your dad was there and Mom were there to celebrate that moment because you were in Kansas City with the team. But it's interesting because I ran into Bob Punter. Of course, Punts was the head basketball coach at Valparaiso High School.
Yep.
I did that Valparaiso Clay game in the state championship game. I saw that Valparaiso team. So Punts and I have been friends for years. And I asked him about, hey, listen, I came across the tape and we went back and listened to it. And I asked Punts, I says, hey, I got a copy of this game if you want to take a listen. He goes, absolutely not. I've never even watched the film. I certainly don't want to listen to you, Paul. Go back and describe it for me. But so everybody does it differently. So Tony, the question I would have is, once you finished up the school year and after you've gone through some of those difficult times, did you go back and navigate yourself and watch the games? Did you go back, or did you save that for another time, or did you say, I want to get as far as I possibly can away from looking at any game film? I'll save that once the season comes along. And I would ask the same question of you, Steve.
Yeah, I like Steve, I watched all the film afterwards. The only time I did not do that was actually my first year here. We played the national championship game against Cornerstone.
Oh, my.
And that was a little bit of a controversial ending. And that game tape I have never watched. And I probably won't. That's the only one. But everything else I've watched and tried to learn from and make sure that as we go into the next season, we continue to improve.
So, Steve, your game plan was you've already had a chance to look at the game film, and so is there anything that happened during the course of the game that you can look back and say, maybe we should have done this a little better or that better? Or do you not even worry about that stuff because the season's over?
Yeah, it's interesting because I thought after the game there's something there that we could have done different. And after watching the film, there's not a whole lot I'd have done different. You feel a little bit better about that. But I give LSUA a ton of the credit. I thought how they played leading up to that, and then how they played against it. They played really well that night. They were more disciplined than they'd been, and they had some guys make some shots. I mean, they had a guy banking 2 threes, had some unfortunate things like that happen, but that's a part of the game, it's the way it bounces. I thought we gave up 5 threes in the first half that we should not have given up. That was one thing that stood out. I thought we emphasized shot fakes. And I thought we had about 7 or 8 times where we could have shot faked. That would have, I think, had us score the ball or at least get fouled. And then obviously the live ball turnover, something we emphasized all week. I thought kind of those 3 things. Trent Edwards sprains his ankle earlier in the week, doesn't practice all week. That was a part of it. He didn't have one of his better games. Maybe you play a couple guys, maybe a few more minutes, but it's hard not to go with Trent Edwards, who's been your guy all year and has done a great job. But yeah, all in all, proud of our guys. I thought they played extremely hard in that game, and you get guys like Bo Jackway, Colin Cummer, Jameer Jefferson. I thought Allen and Preston played great. Just kudos to our guys for the offensive numbers we had. I mean, we were 24 for 49 from 2, 5 for 19 from 3, 15 for 25 from line with 17 turnovers. And you're in the game, the number 2 team in the country. Credit to them for playing hard and being good defensively to stay in the game.
College of Idaho won the national championship over Oklahoma Wesleyan as the last night, as the day that we're taping this program. So the number 1 team in women's basketball, as well as the number 1 team in men's basketball, wins the national championships at the NAI National Tournament. We're going to wrap it up and talk about camps here today, Tony. I know your beautiful wife, Andrea, is working diligently on organizing camps, but I'm going to start with Steve on his camps. Steve, what's your goal when you look back on the camps for men's basketball, or should I say boys basketball?
Yeah, I mean, just creating, Bethel is, faith-based school. It's a ministry for us, and we want to, love, serve, and care for these kids that come and work on their skills and all that. So that's number 1, just providing an environment where they can be loved and they can be served, and then it's helping them in the game of basketball. It's hard for a 4-day camp to get a lot better, but we try to give them some tools and get them a love for the game, and want them to have fun. And it's good for our guys too to connect with these kids. It's good for them to coach the game. It helps them get better. It provides an opportunity to get kids on campus that's good for the school, numbers-wise, admissions-wise, and just getting them on campus. It helps us for games next year. If you bring your camp jersey to the game, I know it's winter, so you might wear a jacket over it, but if you wear that jersey to games, you get in free, and so it's just building the fan base for our program as well. So those are all the things we're trying to get out of it.
Tony, what else is on the horizon with camps?
Well, I think the two things that Steve touched on are just the heartbeat of what we do with camps. We want to add that spiritual component that you maybe don't get at every camp, and that's done very well with all of our coaches and athletes that work that. And then secondly, we have these kids that have fun. I mean, I can't tell you, and this is sad, but I can't tell you the number of conversations I have, mostly with parents, that kids are just burned out at a very young age. And we want these kids to come in for a basketball camp with Steve and his staff and just have a great time. Just have a great time. I think of when I coached, I think of a young man that came and kind of came from a at-risk home situation, and Landon Booker took him under his wing, and that young man for 3 years came to every one of our games and stood outside our locker room waiting for Landon, and they developed an amazing relationship. And those are the kind of things that we want to have happen out of camp.
We've had a blast doing this program here. Special thanks to Luke and Lexus and the legendary Tanner Camp out there for doing all this. Have you had fun hanging out?
It's been awesome. Folks like Steve Drabyn are why we do what we do here, and I can't be more proud of that program and of him and his staff. And yes, this program has been phenomenal. Thank you for all you do, Paul, for us, and it's been great.
Yeah, 25 years, get a chance to hang out with this guy. It's been my blessing, and it's been a privilege. Special thanks to you for our viewers for joining us here on the Tony and Natali Show. We're going to take a break. We're going to get involved in a wide variety of things going on here in May. We're going to be working on our annual Indiana Football Digest, so I'm going to be taking the headset off. A well-deserved break. Last year I did 196 events.
That's pretty good.
That's a lot of things to be talking about for a guy who's 68 years old. So
that's pretty good.
It's my privilege. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys at the helm. Steve's going to be my guest and wrap up some of the stuff on our weekly talk show coming up over at Beef O'Brady's. But it's my pleasure to be the voice of the pilots with you guys. Thanks, Steve, for your accessibility. And Tony, as always, we love you guys.
Love you too. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Paul.
Once again, thanks to everyone here at Bethel University. Servant leadership, academic excellence, true blue. For all of us at Regional Radio Sports, I'm Paul Condry. God bless you all. Good afternoon.